Hey everyone, welcome. It's time for Webi-NRR, and we're heading into the second episode of this webinar series. Great to have you. I'm Johan Nilsson. I'm going to be your host for this session, this Webi-NRR. Today we're going to talk about churn data and why it sometimes lies to us. And we're going to talk about how you can make churn analysis really work for you. So that's the topic of the day. This is a webinar series that we just launched. You have a first episode out there if you want to check it out. But we're going to do this for five times. And we want these to be really interactive. So we're going to do a few polls. But it's also free to ask questions. If you're joining live, post your questions. We're going to take them as we go. We want this to be super interactive, similar to our training programs we do at Impact Academy. So love to hear from you. Just keep posting questions and I'll take them as we go. Or I might save a few of them if I'm going to pick up on that topic later. I'm Johan Nilsson. I'm the founder and the CEO of Start Deliver. And we make a customer success platform. So if you don't have a platform or a good tool, I was missing it in my previous companies. And I know how important it is to be working with something that really helps you and makes you more efficient. So check out Start Deliver if you're not a customer already. That's what we do. I'm also co-founder of Impact Academy, which is training programs for customer success. So that's a little bit quick background. Before we jump into today's topic, I was recently at a conference and I was talking a lot about churn, and then someone raised their hand and said, "What is churn?" It's not all that common when you talk to customer success teams, but still, I think it can be good to level set and just go through what do we mean when we talk about churn. So churn is a component of the net revenue retention metric, which I think most SaaS businesses, recurring revenue businesses, that's like their North Star metric. And a very important part of getting to a good net revenue retention level is to manage your churn, which is the focus of this webinar. But basically, to understand the net revenue retention metric, you need to understand how it works. So you have, if you start a new year with a certain level of ARR, the left bar here on the slide, then you might lose a few customers, and then you might have some downgrades. The red boxes here, those are churn basically. But on the flip side, you might also do some expansion on these customers, and that then you have the green box here that moves you up again. So in this scenario, in this picture here, we are basically going down in ARR on the same number of customers, start of the period to end of the period. As you can see, the net revenue retention is basically below 100%. We can also have another scenario where you have maybe a little bit less churn and maybe a little bit more expansion or upgrades. So the green bar goes up and the whole ARR on the same customer base goes up. And as you can see, you will have 100% plus net revenue retention at the end of that period. So I think this is very common and common knowledge, but I just wanted to clarify a few things. So this is what we're talking about. Today, we're going to talk a bit about these red boxes. Later in the webinar series, we're going to zoom in on the green box as well, because both these are components of net revenue retention. And I would say, no matter how much you focus on churn, to get really good net revenue retention, you need to focus on expansion as well. So very important stuff. And I think it's also important just to understand, like benchmark yourself. Benchmark is loose here in the terms that it's very different depending on your type of product, your market, and so on, your size, and so on. But it's still like this is a report from KYC, and they have a median of 109 net revenue retention. But you can see here also some companies are way above there, up at over 140%, and some are below 80% as well. So it's just good to know where you stand here. And I think it's more about improving your own number and seeing how you can get that up, basically. And today we're going to talk about this red part, basically the churn part. And to kick off things, I would like to understand a little bit from you in the audience, basically how is the situation today with regards to churn analysis? Are you doing them? So I'm going to hit a poll here, and I would like to know. Sorry, wrong poll. Let's do another one. Here we go. I would like to know, have you done an analysis recently? And was it helpful? So basically, have you done it, and how was it? Yes, but the results were unclear. Is trending upwards? Insightful? No, not yet. There's a bit mixed results here in the audience. I think that's great. And my experience here is that this varies, and it varies for a lot of reasons. But it's really interesting to see. So yes, but the results were unclear. That's at least in the top right now. Very interesting, because that's going to lead me into the next slide. And basically, when we talk about churn, I think I had this churn, you might have seen the iceberg before. I think it's probably one of the best metaphors to help people understand the importance of churn, and also the importance of the dynamics of churn. Because I would say, if everybody understood that churn could be, you only see the tip usually. When you see your actual churn numbers, usually just the tip of the iceberg. And that would, if everybody understood that, especially on management, top management level, leadership level, they would put a lot more emphasis on working better with customer success. Because usually the churn numbers, they are lagging. They are lagging for many reasons, but just basically because we have these contracts, and it takes time before the actual churn hits the numbers, where usually the management is looking. So they will see the churn rate right now, but maybe the cancellation was 12 months prior to that. But maybe the actual reasons for the churn was even earlier. Maybe that was 24 months ago. So what your churn number now tells you very little about what the churn number will be. And that's, of course, something we're going to address today. So remember that churn is sometimes an iceberg. And if we don't understand the reasons for churn, we might have a huge churn basically under the surface. And I'm going to help you a little bit to try to clarify things, and also by the end of this webinar, give you some help on how to fix some of these churn issues you might have after you've done the analysis. So we're going to go through this in more depth. No questions yet, so feel free to ask questions if you're listening in live. I want to hear from you. I'll finish the vote here. Yes, but the results were unclear. And I would say that's my experience as well. A lot of time when we do churn analysis, we basically don't get the results we were hoping for. And there's some really common issues when you do churn analysis. And I think I'm all for analysis, and I'm all for trying to understand the reasons behind churn. But we need to be aware of some problems when we try to make these analyses. Number one, I would say, especially in the early days, when you're growing a company, you might only get excuses to why we had some churn. Yeah, churn is not a big problem, but customer X, they left. Yeah, well, you know, they had issue, they had some problems internally. That guy was weird. They blew it. The integration sucked. Someone else's fault. You know, there can be a lot of excuses, and more of these anecdotal excuses where it's a story. Every case, every churn, it's a story around it. So you can like almost everybody have a logic reason why they churn. So we actually don't have a churn problem. It's just that customer was that reason, and so on. So that's a common situation, that there's a lot of excuses. It's very anecdotal. It's very little data, actually. Another common issue with churn analysis is basically that you have sample bias. So usually, hopefully, you don't have all that much actual customers to make the analysis of, and maybe that will lead you the wrong way. Maybe you only ask the latest 4 customers, and what kind of conclusions can you draw from that, really? So you need a little bit more data actually to have some good insights from your analysis. So you have the sample bias problem. It's maybe not that big of a sample you can survey, or you can interview, or however you prefer to do your analysis. Then there is another problem that I think is even bigger and really can distort the response, and that's the response bias. So response bias here can be that if a customer cancels on you, and you go out and you want to interview them and say, hey, why are you leaving? What was wrong? What didn't work? That customer might not even give you a straight answer. They think you are doing everything you can to win them back. So they will maybe give you an answer that will basically close that discussion. So they might not even tell you the real reason. They might say it's just price, we're cutting costs, and by that maybe closing the door. Whereas the real reason was that they didn't get their help. We as a company didn't understand them fully. We didn't follow up with the right people. We didn't get them on track, and so on. So it can also be response bias, basically. So the person, or this is very much up, when do we ask the questions, when do we do the analysis, basically. So be aware of that. And then also be aware of the CSM bias here. It's a little bit related to the excuse part, where, and this is very natural, I would say, like everybody's trying their best and hopefully trying their best. And if it's up to the CSM to do the analysis of their own customers and why they churn, most likely they will find reasons that it was not in their control. It was other things. So the CSM will also not be completely objective and neutral in making an analysis. So these are things you need to consider whenever you want to do a real customer churn analysis, basically. Let's see, we have some questions coming in. I'm going to take them here and see how we are. Should we do different churn analysis for different customer segments? I think in general, I would say no, unless you have, we'll get to the purpose. What's the purpose of the churn analysis? I would say you could do different if you're suspecting if they have very different use cases or something like that. But again, we're back again to the sample bias situation. If we have very little sampling, if we split them in segments, usually the samples will be smaller as well. But I think it comes back to the reason we're doing the analysis, which is the next part of the webinar here. So I'm going to get into that more. Another question: what are some good categories to set up churn reasons? Great question. I will give you an answer. I will give you a suggestion to an answer that you can take home and you can use if you want straight after the webinar. If we don't have a big sample, what to do then? Yeah, I mean, the thing is here, I think it's still worthwhile doing, but we need to be objective as much as we can. It comes back to the purpose. Why are we trying to do this? And even if we have a small sample, we need to be able to look at it from an objective point of view. Maybe someone in the board, maybe someone that's not really in the operations can be part of this. Maybe it's only 5 customers that churn for us, but maybe someone that has a real interest in helping the company, but is not vested in the operations of things, can have a look or can make the analysis or even talk and interview the customers. So that could be some ideas there. But let's get into the next part. And I think this is really, really important, because sometimes we do these churn analysis for unclear reasons. Maybe there is someone in the board that just want analysis to have an analysis, and we just do it just to tick the box and satisfy this stakeholder that's involved in the company. Maybe we do it just to pretend that we are good here. Maybe we do it to prove something. So I would say, like, a very important part here is to really be clear on your intent. Why do we want to do the churn analysis? Because as I mentioned earlier, there are some clear problems with doing it, and as you know, you can lie with statistics if you have whatever purpose you have. So you need to be clear on the purpose, and I would say my recommendation is to really wanting to know the root causes for the churn. I think that's fundamentally what we want to understand here is, why do we, what is the real reason here behind the churn problem we have? And I think we need to be very honest here, and we need to be very candid about why we have these problems. And it's not about blaming someone, it's just about becoming better, basically, as a company. And if everybody's on board on this, and we have a structure that doesn't make us biased in any way, I think there can be a lot of value from a churn analysis, even if the sample is small. These root causes for churn, I will walk you through them. We covered them partly in the previous webinar as well. But basically, there's 5 reasons. Bad fit customers, that was all we talked about in the last Webi-NRR. That's one very common root cause for churn. Broken product, basically we are selling a product that in parts or fully is not functioning. That's also a potential root cause for churn. Then we have 3, 4, and 5. Inappropriate experience. Basically, the customer is getting experience they didn't want. Basically, it was not appropriate for them. We did not know what success meant to them, so we were trying to do something with the customer, but that was not at all what they really wanted to do. And the 5th, the last one, is basically we don't have a clear process on success. So maybe we did the onboarding, but then we forgot about them, or something similar. So these are 5 root causes, and these are my recommendations to classify based on Lincoln Murphy's methodology, what we work with at Impact Academy as well. Then you can, of course, have sub-segments of these, but I think they are very clear and very good to work with. And you can also group them. And this is how we look at them. So bad fit customers and broken product, those are what we call the unavoidable. These are whatever we do in customer success, basically, if we have problems here, the churn will be unavoidable. These ones are more up to us. These are more about managing customer success properly. And here is everything in our hands, basically. We have good fit customers, they have success potential, and they still churn on us. And this is where we mess up, basically. Here we are missing, here we're dropping the ball. How we're dropping the ball, that's step 2 of this, but these are avoidable. So these are the root causes. They are unavoidable and avoidable. Of course, the unavoidable, we can work on fixing them and make them less of that category. And the avoidable, here, of course, we need to improve our processes, we need to improve our competence, and we need to understand better the customer, both what their experience, they hope to, the experience they're looking for, but also what are they looking to achieve, what are their goals, and so on. The next thing here, the next part of the categorization, in addition to these, are basically, was this churn that with the cancellation we received now, was that expected, or was it unexpected? Expected or unexpected? So expected churn, we knew this customer was not progressing. They were not hitting their milestones. They were not about to achieve their goals. They were basically not adopting the platform. Maybe we received a lot of bad feedback. We knew this was not going the right direction. So that churn was very much expected from our side. The other reason, unexpected, this customer, we didn't even know they were not on the right track. We got a cancellation, they churned on us, and it was completely unexpected. So that's very important also to pay attention to. How did this churn happen? And if we put all these things together, basically, you get a really strong framework to help you navigate in your churn analysis. So we can put the four into four different boxes: the expected and unavoidable. So basically, these ones are, I would say, you don't want churn, right? But if you have churn, this box is the preferred one. Basically, we knew it was coming and it was unavoidable. Maybe it was a bad fit customer. We tried everything. We didn't see the progress they needed. They were not happy what we could provide. Bad fit, unavoidable. We saw it coming. Fine, done. Maybe we didn't spend much time more on it because we knew this, right? The second box here, expected and avoidable. So we knew about it, but it was not bad fit. It was not about the product. It was maybe we dropped the ball. We didn't pick up on them after onboarding. We failed basically on our work. We didn't see a new stakeholder coming in with new goals. We basically missed out on things here, but we knew about it. At least we had it on our at-risk list. We talked about it in our weekly meetings. We had it on our radar, basically. Then we have the unexpected, unavoidable. So this one is a surprise to us, but it was unavoidable. So it's not that big of a thing. It was just a matter of time, but now it just came out of nowhere. We didn't have it on our radar, basically. And then we have the last one here, which is the really hurtful one. It's unexpected and avoidable. So basically this one, good fit, success potential, great customer, supposedly, and then they just churn on us, right? So this box is the one you really want to avoid. But this is the hard part, right? I just want to run another poll here, and let's see where we stand here. And I'll run it here. If you have to pick, maybe you're not working with this framework yet, but if you had, where would you say your churn is at the moment? Which box do you resonate most with, the ones you know about or heard about, or even when you ran your analysis found most true, basically? So let's see where everybody is. And of course, it can be a mix of these, but pick the one that's fits best, basically. So looking good. Not a lot of people in the unexpected, avoidable, a few there. It's a mix. Clearly expected and unavoidable is number one. I would say that's great. In that case, of course, unavoidable, it can be also a customer going out of business, right? It can be a merger. Maybe someone like bought another company and it became too big. Maybe that's more a bad fit situation. So maybe this is I'm going to talk a little bit about how we get less unavoidable later on. Interesting. So that's clearly the number one here for everyone. Meanwhile, there's some more questions coming in, so I'm going to check those. Cool. We covered all the questions. Super. All right. Very good stuff. So if you have this classification now, what to do, basically. And I think there's a few things you need to keep in mind here. And even if you, I mean, there are clear cases of avoidable, right? But it's also back to this being biased, right? It's really or unavoidable. It's really, as a CSM, you probably want to put the ones that are unavoidable, or those that are even maybe there are actually avoidable in the unavoidable box, right? Because that puts a little bit, takes the responsibility out of your hands here. But a lot of times, even the unavoidable, we need to be honest here and see if we want to improve here. We actually need to understand that some of the unavoidable is actually avoidable. And why is that? Well, bad fit, if we need to be very clear what is bad fit. And bad fit is not just that someone changed or a new decision maker came in. Bad fit should be really this customer cannot have success with us. And the clearer we are on that, I think the clearer we will know. And we talked about it in the last webinar, that we can also stop selling to those type of customers, right? But I think we need to just be very clear on when is it really unavoidable. Is if they go out of business, yeah. If they're acquired by a huge US company, maybe it's unavoidable. But a lot of times the churn is actually avoidable. So we need to push back a little bit there as well internally and say, hey, is this really unavoidable? Because it's easier for us to put it in that box. So keep that in mind when you run this through your analysis as well. Another part of this is also unexpected and expected. The unexpected part, I think, if we see a lot of things, a lot of times we are categorizing customers that are churn as unexpected. And I see this a lot, that's actually the case. I think it's also a symptom of us working a little bit in the wrong way. Because if we were paying attention, if we had a real good understanding of the goal of the customer, if we were tracking the progress of the customer, if we had great usage tracking where we were measuring really key events for the customer, if we picked up on all the feedback, if we were in control of the support tickets and situation, if we had all this context data on the customer, very few of our customers would churn on us unexpectedly. So I think this is also comes back a little bit to our own setup, our own organization, our own management of things. And of course, what we do at customers, or what we do for customer success teams at Start Deliver is basically we bring all this data together to make you more in control. Because we know, and you probably know as well, that time is one of the lacking resources for any customer success organization. It's impossible if you have 200 accounts or you have 200 customers in your portfolio. How can you be on top of them? How can you see things? How can you see how things are going on 200 plus customers? You need a system, you need a tool, you need the data to talk to you rather than you finding out yourself. So if you find a lot of churn coming in unexpectedly, there's a lot you can do here to improve your own operations, basically, to get in control. So let's see here. What's the question as well? Let's see. One question coming in here. If a customer's health is good, they have good usage, and they still churn, how can we predict that? Great question. So if of course there are variations to this, right? But first of all, sometimes we need to understand what is good usage. And if we are tracking really, if we have meaningful usage, not just that they're logging in, but they're using the platform in a way that they get value. Basically, they are achieving their, say they're working in a CRM and they're not just logging in, but they're actually creating more opportunities. They are getting more sales, they're getting more leads, they are actually doing things, and we see them progressing. So it's not just initially they are progressing and maybe they're getting more users in and so on. If we have that type of usage data that really indicates they are getting a lot of value, then of course, and they still churn, then there is then that is of course a big question mark. And what can it be in that case? Well, are we on top of all the stakeholders? Maybe they got a new head of sales, or they got a new CRO, a CEO. Maybe they merged with another company. Maybe they added another product line. Usually, if usage is set up right and we are tracking it right and it's good, and they still churn, then we usually missed something in the leadership team, on the C-level, in the stakeholders. That would be my answer to that one. But we can also have false positives where we set up the usage badly. And the use, for instance, very stupid example, but if you only track logins and you have a product that's meaning doesn't do very much just logging in, you really need to use some key elements of the product to get value. Then logins might look good, but the actual usage, the real usage, is poor. And then you fool yourself and you think they are doing well. So we need to have really good usage metrics. In that case, I think there is a very strong indicator that this customer will stay with you. It's not everything. You need to cover other parts as well, but I think it's I would say the best way to really ensure that you, that you're on the right track, basically. Just a few things before I wrap up here. If you have a lot of unavoidable churn, you need to step back and look at why do we have that. It can be that they're going out of business. It's not that common. I mean, it happens. I think we always have to have some of those. It can of course be that they are acquired or something like that, bigger macro things happening. But I would say the most common thing, if you have a lot of unavoidable, then you have bad fit customers. So go back to the previous webinar. We have some great ideas there on how you can fix bad fit customers. You might also have problems with your product. Those are very important. And this, I would say, like a very important part of doing a churn analysis is to bring up problems with the product, real product problems with the product. Because if you're selling you can't fix that with customer success, basically. So those are some good things to do with unavoidable. I mentioned this a little bit, but I just want to iterate again. If you have a lot of unexpected, there were a few of those, unexpected, basically churn coming up from nowhere. All of a sudden, you didn't have it on your at-risk list, you didn't have it on your forecast. I would say that's an indication that you're probably working a little bit in the wrong way here. You are more focused on reactive things. And this is like a self-fulfilling thing. So if you have a lot of unexpected, whoa, I got a cancellation from customer X. Then you run out and try to save them, to turn things around, firefighting basically. And then you spend a lot of time doing that. And then you get another unexpected churn because you weren't paying attention to that one. And then it's like a vicious cycle where you kind of stay in the reactive mode versus being proactive. And being proactive, you will have very little unexpected churn. The proactive work where you basically are on top of things, you have a success plan, you are measuring the customer's success. Are they having progress? Are they achieving their business goals? Do they have meaningful usage? All those things. Then you are in control. You basically see the customers that are not going well. Maybe those will churn, but they will not be unexpected. And you will be doing the right things with other customers so they will not churn, basically, and you won't get unexpected churn. So we call it low percentage activities when you're in the reactive mode. Basically, you spend a lot of time with small impact. And here you have high percentage activities where you spend the same amount of time, but you have a much higher output on your work, basically. So if you're in that category, these are my recommendations. With that, I want to wrap up. And basically, churn analysis, I would say it's important, but you need to be wary of the misconceptions, of the issues, of the complex things that unless you have a very clear reason, and that reason is to basically fix the root causes, I think you should be a little bit careful what you do there. And we need to remember, like, zero churn, very few companies have zero churn, and maybe it's not even your goal to have zero churn, because there will be some customers that unfortunately are not the right fit of some reason. They might even go out of business, so you will have churn. But we need to, our goal should be that any churn that does actually happen is falling into the categories expected and preferably unavoidable. So that's the summary. Yeah, another question came in late, so I'll take that. It's not late, but it's good to get them. So, do you think targeting GRR instead of NRR can help uncovering reasons for downsell and churn? Yes, I think it's very important. I think we need to be basically, great expansion can hide churn problems. So basically, we can make that iceberg analogy again. If we're doing really well, maybe the iceberg of our churn is not going to be. Maybe we're only going to show the tip if we look on the NRR side, versus looking at the GRR side, we will see the full iceberg. I fully agree. I think transparency on the actual churn numbers and the actual churn percentage, it's going to put a lot of emphasis on this. So I think it's good. I think we can look at both. And I think we should look at all the components. Do we have a lot? Maybe we don't have a lot of customer logo churn, but we have a lot of contraction. And why is that? That might be another issue, versus some businesses, they have a lot of logo churn, but they don't have any contraction. So we need to understand the components, both customer or logo churn, contraction, and expansion. What to do if the most popular reason for churn is cost higher than benefit? Yes, and this one, I think this can hide a lot of things. Back to this problem or common issues with churn analysis, that who is saying this? Is it the customer? When are we asking this question? Are we asking it at cancellation? Maybe they are saying this because this is an easy out, basically. Or are we asking the customer 6 months after they left us, basically? Are they saying it at that time? So it's very important to understand, when are they telling us this? Or is it, who is saying this? Is it the CSM? You know, the CSM might be biased as well, because this one is a little bit of an excuse. You can say, yeah, well, we're too expensive. I would say, to be honest, this is, most cases I've seen this, it's an excuse. It's an excuse for the customer to get out of a difficult discussion and not be pushed or pressured to continue. It's also a way for the CSM to kind of put the blame on our pricing and so on. I would dig deeper, basically, if I get this question, or if I get this reason a lot, because it's usually there's more to it, and we need to understand both who's saying this, and when are they saying it, and is it really that's the reason. Great questions, everyone. Thanks for joining. I'll wrap up here, but see you all soon, and we'll be back for Webi-NRR number 3.